National Petroleum Company give reasons for recent increase in petrol pump price. Federal government to amend civil aviation regulation following indefinite suspension of some airlines. Oil prices up on China economic support pledge, tighter supply. Good to have you join us at this time. The program is Business Express, coming to you from the studios of largest TV network in Africa, that is the NTA. And we'll start by telling you that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says the increase in the price of petrol is as a result of market realities and making sure the market regulates itself. The Group Managing Director of the NNPC Limited stated this while briefing State House correspondent.
What I know is that the market forces will regulate the market. Prices will go down sometimes it will go up, but there will be stability of supply, and I'm also assuring Nigerians that this is the best way to go forward so that we can adjust prices when market comes. I don't have the details this moment, but I know that our marketing wing acts. I know that a number of companies have imported petroleum products to the PMS. So many of them are online, I'm sure.
Pricing, as a regulator, we are not going to put a cap on the price because we are not part of those importing. We are not a marketing company, we are just a regulator. So when you say market forces are working, basically what it is that you can see the price of crude going up. A couple of week or so ago, the price of crude was hovering around $70 per barrel. Now it's hovering about $80 per barrel. So of course, the crude price also drives the product price. You know, because the importers are importing, they are basing it on the cost of importation plus the freight, plus other cost elements in terms of local distribution.
The pump price was increased from 540 naira per litre to 617 naira. And on monetary issues, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Central Bank of Egypt have signed a memorandum of understanding to establish a Nigeria-Egypt fintech bridge. The signing ceremony, which took place at the Seamless North Africa 2023 conference at the Egypt International Exhibition Center, Cairo, comes after a series of engagements on issues around payment systems, financial technology, and financial inclusion in Africa. The CBN Deputy Governor of Financial System Stability, Aisha Ahmed, who signed on behalf of the CBN, says the bank is excited by the partnership with the Central Bank of Egypt, which followed several months of engagement on payments, fintech, and financial inclusion. The groundbreaking partnership between the apex banks of the two largest economies in Africa encompasses a broad range of collaborative initiatives, including joint regulatory innovation projects, coordinated licensing and supervisory frameworks, information sharing, fintech cross-referrals, and talent development. Still talking investment, Nigeria and the city of Houston, Texas, have agreed to improve their bilateral trading by adding non-oil trade to oil and gas, which, as of today, Houston stands as the 41st largest trading partner, with trade averaging $1.6 billion. A 13-man delegation from Houston came with proposals for direct flights to Nigeria from Houston, real estate, energy and agro-exports, among other economic activities, and were received by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Evelyn Ngige.
Initiative for development of special economic zones across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country in pursuit of the country's industrialization agenda. The city of Houston, Texas is encouraged to explore investment opportunities in these zones, especially the manufacturing and processing industries, in line with the federal government's economic sustainability plan. This will help to boost Nigeria's market share for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area's 1.2 billion market and beyond.
We believe with Nigeria's emphasis on energy, on trade, all of the things that the Permanent Secretary outlined, and that there is a lot of synergies between Houston and Nigeria.
And in pursuit of the country's industrialization agenda, the federal government and industry players have agreed that it is time to act towards the realization of special economic zones. Business correspondent Bosset Abel reports that the roundtable in Abuja reached a consensus on how to revive, reform and transform the zones for economic growth. The report.
30 years after takeoff, the Free Trade Zones scheme is worth just about $20 billion. The conversation here says this amount is far below the annual export target of $100 billion set for 2035 under Africa's single market. However, they are hopeful that with the recent approval of the first ever Nigeria investment policy, some of the challenges standing in the way will be no more, as they believe both the trade and investment policies will go a long way in attracting more investment into the economy.
Let us seize this opportunity to identify appropriate steps that will drive the transformation of our free trade zone.
Every year we grow by 2.5% population growth rate. That's 5 million people, twice the size of Gambia. So we need to accelerate development, and this scheme can do it.
I don't want us to live here today to feel government is going to lose everything. No, Nigeria will gain, because a successful free trade zone is a catalyst for further investment.
On the prospects of Nigeria taking the largest share of the continental market, Special Advisor to the President on Industry, Trade and Investment, John Uwajumogu, says the special economic zones hold the key to unlocking the market. Hence, all operators should get to work.
We can't be growing at 3%, 4%. We should be growing at high single digits or double digits. China did it. What can we do? So, and SEZs play a very central role in being able to do that.
Decisions reached here are to be forwarded for presidential attention. In Abuja, Bosset Abel.
Thank you, Bosset there. And recently, the federal government approved for implementation the first ever Nigerian investment policy. The primary focus of the investment policy is on investment promotion, facilitation, and sustainable development that would promote responsible investor conduct for sustainable development. This is our focus on the program today. And joining me to deliberate on some of these issues is Ogbonna Okuku. He's an investment and economic development expert. Good to have you again on Business Express. And I remember we started this conversation some time ago.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a continuous conversation that we'll continue to have as a nation, really.
Great. Well, with that being said, Nigeria is blessed with abundant natural and human resources, but harnessing these resources has been more like a work in progress, which some people would describe as moving at a snail's speed. What are your thoughts concerning this?
And to make sense of the entire process, it would be nice for us to even evaluate the factors that support industrialization, as it were. I mean, a holistic view of the entire process. Now, first things first, you need to look at, yes, we have natural resources, we have human resources, but the first question you ask, if you do a manpower audit, will you be able to distill and bring out those that have capacity to be able to drive the entire process, be it government bureaucracy, be it industrial revolution, be it those who can even man some of these, industries. Number two thing we need to look at here is, do we have, is what I call, a sector-specific technology transfer acquisition plan? Do we have a plan that will be able to say, okay, these are the industries that we have interest in. Do we have what it takes to do a merger or an acquisition that will help us, drive the technology that will help us push forward those processes and procedures? Number three thing is, which is very crucial, is the raw material supply strategy. Some of these things are slow. Some of these plans have been slow, or they've been moving so slowly because you must have what we call scale and specialization to be able to support industries. What do I mean by that? When it comes to raw material supply strategy, you must have an efficient road infrastructure or rail infrastructure to be able to move raw materials from, let's say, farm gates or from wherever they are being gotten out from to the manufacturers, and then you should be able to have an evacuation plan to take out some of these finished goods into the market. Then number four thing we need to look at here or consider here is, do we have a financial product? Do we have the proper financial engineering strategy to be able to drive industrialization? Now the last thing is access to market. Now we have, like you said earlier, we have natural resources, we have human resources. Then the next question you should ask yourself, do we have people, individuals with that financial capacity? Do we have people that have disposable income to be able to acquire or get some of these things? So it comes back to the same thing. If you're not able to drive or have an efficient system that will be able to, manage processes, procedures from A to Z, it becomes very difficult for you to grow at that speed. China was able to do it. They were able to do it because they had a plan, and the plan was able to fuse into the manpower audit that they carried out, the training that they did, and we were able to have a robust raw material plan, and then they were also able to fuse it to the technology plan that they had. So this development happened, and they all happened at the same time, and that's why we're able to have the kind of result that we're having today in China.
Well, some of these issues you've raised and the prospects you've begun to, that you enumerated, are some of the concerns a delegation from Houston, Texas yesterday had the Minister of Trade and Investment, where they had a 30-man delegation. And the permanent secretary, for one, was seriously marketing in Nigeria. And her area of concentration mostly was the special economic zones, the free trade zones. Why investors should come and invest in this economic zones. The prospects are much. But looking at it critically, it's been 30 years since this initiation has been up. This initiative has been on. Lagos has done a whole lot, talking about the deep blue sea port, talking about Eco Atlantic, even the Dangote refineries are part of this free trade zone and special economic zones initiative that are attracting investment and creating a whole lot of jobs. But a lot of people will tell you the prospects are there, but we are not where we should be. Yes, you've enumerated some of the challenges. Moving forward, particularly with the president now declaring state of emergency on agriculture, are we on the right path?
Yes, it's one thing to declare state of emergency on certain issues and or certain sectors in the economy. It's another thing to have the right people man strategic offices to be able to drive some of the processes, like I said earlier. Now let's use Juron Island as an example. It's one of my for me is the sweetest case study to use when you're describing the free trade zone or the special economic zones. Now in Juron Island, like I always say, Juron Island is just a 3,000 hectare reclaimed land where you have, which is the highest, is the largest, the world's largest petrochemical hub, and then you have an investment of over $30 billion in refineries and petrochemicals. But the most interesting thing is there's no hydrocarbon, which is the main raw material. There's no hydrocarbon close to that place. The closest hydrocarbon feedstock to that place is a pipeline, 630-kilometer pipeline from Indonesia to the location in Singapore. So what does that tell you? It tells you that if you have natural resources, if you have human resources, if you don't have efficiency in your system, it becomes difficult for you to drive investment. Everybody in the world world, investors are like water. They move to areas of least resistance. If you do not remove bureaucratic red tapes, and if you don't streamline, how people can come into your environment and do business and go away, it becomes very difficult. It becomes like a dark hole. Everybody keeps talking about let's drive investment. I say it everywhere to whoever that cares to listen. America is still looking for investment. Just the way the 30-man delegation came to Nigeria, they are still looking for investors in Houston, because there are a lot of areas where that require a lot of investment in Houston, for example. So, but what it simply means is that if we're able to have a well-structured hand-holding mechanism, a hand-holding mechanism where you can actually hand-hold an investor through the desk, make sure that they're able to fit into your system within a shortest possible time. It makes it easier for the investor, because if an investor has $100 million and he's waiting for you to get an approval from one agency of government, and then the person that you're talking to doesn't even understand what investment is all about, and then the person is wasting your time, they don't have any time.
Sorry, Mr. Kuku, can I hold your thoughts there?
Yeah.
Let me get something clear. I was saying we're having a challenge with regulation or the implementation of these regulations. Are we not having enough frameworks, effective frameworks, that will see the investor, first of all, yes, from wherever he is in this part of the world, he knows where and how to invest in Nigeria. When he comes in, there is no hand-holding mechanism that will take him through the process with the ease of doing business that Nigeria has recorded?
Okay, let me put it this way. There's a large competition for investors. So the easier it is for people to do business in your climate, the better for you. Look at them. There are countries, Singapore I mentioned, they either come first or second when it comes to ease of doing business. Now, the last survey that was carried out was carried out in Lagos and Kano. Now, you can't use that. That cannot give you the real picture of Nigeria. Whether you agree with me or not. Lagos is a bit more cosmopolitan, and Kano also. Because, there are areas where some of these investors who want to go and do business, and then they find it very difficult to do business. Now, the hand-holding mechanism I'm talking about here, see, there are things even by law that makes it difficult for you to do business. I've said it, I always use it as a very simple example. We have issue with power. We want investment in power. But for somebody to get licensed to do power in Nigeria, you need to interface with at least 7 or 8 different agencies of government. For God's sake, which investor will have time? And each of these agencies of government, you spend at least a minimum of 6 months with each and every one of them. Because how on earth? So what they did in Juron, which is where I was heading to, what they did in Juron Island is they made it easy for every investor. All you need is your briefcase, and you walk in, you can start doing business the next day. Why? Because all the infrastructures they've put out all the infrastructure that you would need. If there are licenses that you require, they've all been acquired, because this is government talking to government. So it makes life a lot easier, not a government talking to an individual. So if they need to acquire land, government already would have been able to secure that land from the subnational, and then they are holding it. As soon as you come, you shake hands, sign your MOU, and then you move into business. So for me, this is what investment facilitation is all about, looking at our client. Because whether we like it or not, there's something hosted in investment promotion, hosted theory of cross-cultural dimension to investment promotion. You need to be able to understand each culture for you to be able to woo an investor from different climes in the world. Investment promotion looks very simple, but it's a very difficult job. So you need to have the right tactics. You need to have the right people, be able to pull investors, be able to convince investors to come and do business, or even advise government on what to do to convince investors to come into your climb.
Okay, Mr. Okuku, let me put you to task. I've seen you do these things, talking about investment promotion and facilitation. I've seen you around the NIPC, the Promotion Council, that is a government agency. I've seen you in the private sector. I've seen you do this thing in the United States of America. Just a few months ago, we're together. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Now with the present framework and with the support that the present administration is given to investment promotion, how, where, when do you think this is possible, and how should we go about it?
No, first, I think the president should at this point in time, begin to do what I call talent hunt. Find the right people to fit into certain offices that will be able to drive investment. It looks very ordinary, just like building looks very ordinary. It's not laying blocks. No, it's not about laying blocks. If you don't have the right energy, you don't have the right materials, you can build and then the building will collapse the next day. We need to be able to have an investment drive policy that will be able to capture what goes on at the subnational, being able to merge all of that. There has to be that confluence, that conversations around what everybody needs to do. Now again, we don't all need to be out there shouting, oh, come and invest in Nigeria. Everybody is doing everybody's job. Everybody wants to go and discuss with investors. If you don't have the right expertise, you won't be able to. It's just like I use this when I'm teaching investment promotion. I say, when investor is like trying to marry a woman. So if so many people from one family is coming to talk to a particular woman that you want to marry her, you will confuse the woman. You confuse it because some people might be saying the wrong things, and then at the end of the day, you are not marketing the country. So there has to be a streamlined system where we're able to manage this investment win process, and then have the right people, have the right person man the Ministry of Trade and Investment, and then again I don't know how the process of having the right permanent secretary. We should have permanent secretary that have expertise in it. Then again, do what I call in foreign affairs, do what I call embassy indexing. Find out the embassies that we have interest in, the countries that we have interest in. Make sure that we have good trade officers, investment officers in those embassies who will be able to sell and market Nigeria properly. Then again, you need to have the right person head the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, someone that has expertise, someone that understands what it means to do that job. And then at the end of the day, you begin to see the results. Someone who will be able to advise government, this is what we need to do. Someone who has the right strategy to be able to develop businesses and concepts that government can go into.
Sorry to hold your thoughts at this time for one of time. Like you said from the beginning, it's an ongoing conversation which we are going to keep doing until we get the required results we need for this. And next, I think very soon we should be talking in depth the investment and trade policy, which is new. We've never had it in the country for so many years. Now that we have this, let's see how that helps in attracting investment into the country. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us at this point in time.
All right, thanks for having me once again.
Great. Moving on, plans are underway to establish electric vehicle charging stations across the country before the end of the year. This is as the National Automotive Design and Development Council seeks to dominate the automotive industry with the introduction of additional electric vehicles. The Director General, NADDC, Jelani Aliu, dropped the hint at a workshop on validation of the draft National Action Plan for the development of electric cars in Nigeria. Comfort Amadou reports.
There have been concerted efforts and strategies by the federal government to develop the Nigerian automotive industry, which includes the adoption of the National Automotive Industry Development Plan in Nigeria. This is targeted at increasing the manufacture and assemblage of electric vehicles and local production to about 40% by 2033. The conversation is focused on establishing electric vehicle charging stations across the country and also on the validation of the draft National Action Plan for the development of electric vehicles in the country.
We're moving on both in the NAIDP 2023 and this specific EV policy to push forward a vehicle financing scheme where Nigerians can put down just a little bit of the cost of an EV, drive it off, take it home, and then pay over 5 to 6 years. We believe this would really tremendously help towards attainability of such vehicles.
Even in the last auto plan that was passed by the Federal Executive Council, the electric vehicle is well captured under that plan, and a whole lot of series of incentives are enumerated there in order to support investments in the industry.
National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, and other key players in the manufacturing sector are also collaborating with NADDC to accelerate electric mobility in Nigeria.
We have phosphate, we have lithium. Why can't we put it here? That's where NASENI comes in. We make it cheaper, we'll conserve our foreign exchange so that we don't have to use the same money to go out and buy all of these things.
So you have a mini grid and you have a charging station. So the solar mini grid will charge the charging station.
We have a charging station. We have one in Abuja here. We are building one in Kaduna. And possibly we will get one in Kano very soon.
Deliberations at the workshop also focused on the need to implement policies on local electric vehicle production, funding for infrastructure projects, and sustainable measures for stable power supply in charging stations that will be sited across the country. In Abuja, Comfort Amodu.
And now a quick look at the market, trading close downwards as this Wednesday as the all-share index depreciated further to 63,757.23 basis points. Market capitalization dropped further to 34.716 trillion naira. 473.4 million shares exchanged hands amongst investors in 7,403 deals, valued at 10.081 billion naira. Well, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback. Do keep your comments coming and observations, and be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube and other NTA channel. Business Express returns on Thursday at 9 a.m. I am Benny Adams saying God bless Nigeria.